Okay, so again, I skipped a lot of the word problems so that I could get straight to the work that you're going to have to do. And again, I am skipping all the word problems because of time issues. You're welcome to go back and fill in all those word problems. I don't think that you'll be missing anything from the fact that we skipped them. Because we don't generally do the word problems. We just do the algebra. Okay, so very similar to what we did before, except this time they're telling us this symbol right here is the multiplication symbol. They want us to multiply. So we're going to take the two problems and we're going to multiply them together. I don't think I'll use green. So we're going to take the f function, which is 2x, and we're going to multiply it by the g function. Whoops, I don't even know what that is. The g function, which is x plus 3. Okay. And we're going to do exactly what it says to do, and we're going to multiply. So we've got this term right here, which is a monomial because there's just one term, and we're going to multiply it times this binomial. So this thing right here is going to get distributed. Okay, and we're going to get 2x times x. We're really multiplying the coefficient 2 times the coefficient 1. 2 times 1 gives me 2, and x times x gives me x squared. And then 2x times 3, we multiply the 2 times the 3. They're both positive, so the 6 is positive, and then x. So the answer to f times g of x is 2x squared plus 6x. Okay. This time they want me to multiply g times h. So they want me to multiply x plus 3 times 2x plus 6. Okay, we've got a binomial times a binomial. You probably learned how to do this, and your teacher probably called it FOIL. They're telling us now they don't want us to use the acronym FOIL anymore. They just want us to call it double distribution. But you probably learned it with FOIL, so I'm going to remind you. FOIL, F-O-I-L, stands for multiply the first two terms together, the outer terms together, the inner terms together, the last terms together. That just makes sure you get everything that you're supposed to multiply. So first terms together, x times 2x. Okay, so we've got the coefficient 1 times the coefficient 2, that's a 2, and then x times x gives us x squared. Okay, those are the first terms. Then the outer terms, okay, the outside on this one and the outside of that one, so x times 6, that's just 6x. The inside terms, for outer, inside, 3 times 2 gets 6x again. And now the last two terms. The last term inside each, the 3 times the 6. That's going to give me 18. Okay, we'll always have these two middle terms. Will usually be like terms. So the 2x squared stays 2x squared, but 6x plus 6x becomes 12x. And then we've got the 18x at the end. Okay. And most of the time, not every time, but most of the time, a binomial times another binomial will result in a trinomial. Okay, now for division. Notice that they're saying weird stuff right here. And the reason that they're saying weird stuff is because we're going to have a fraction bar, and we're going to put f of x on top, and we're going to put h of x on bottom. And the reason that they're telling us that x cannot equal 0, because if x did equal 0, then we would have a fraction here. 2 times 0 is 0. And Actually, the 0 doesn't matter in this case. Let's see. Find each function, simplify the function rule, note any values that must be excluded from the domain. So we've got to use this, only have to worry about excluding numbers from the domain when we have this division. And that's exactly what they're talking about when they say, I see. It didn't say x equals 8. It just said the function of h is not going to be 0. Because what happens? Well, they actually gave me the restriction, but they want to know what's the x value. So what would make that thing right there be 0? So if we subtracted 6 from both sides, we would get 2x minus 6, and then we divide both sides by 2. We would get x equals -3. So if we plug in -3 right there, we'd get 2 times -3 would be -6. -6 plus 6 would give me 0. So this is the restriction on the domain. The domain can be anything except, let's do set builder, x such that x is not equal to -3. Okay, that's the shortest one to do it. If we do it in interval notation, then you have to say it can be anything from -infinity all the way up to -3, but it can't be -3. So then we got to union that with everything up to -3, and then pick up -3 left off and go all the way to positive infinity. So this is shorter to write. That's why we do this instead of this. What else? Talking about simplifying. You may be able to simplify these functions, okay? What a lot of people are going to want to do, and it's wrong, you cannot cancel those out and say it's equal to 1/6. That is wrong, and it will be wrong every time you try to do it, because the only thing that can cancel out is a common factor. Now, we can rewrite that top part right there as 2 times x. And we can rewrite that bottom part as 2 times x plus 3. Okay, now why did I do it like that? Because now I've got a factor of 2 on top and a factor of x. I got a factor of 2 on bottom and a factor of x plus 3 on bottom. Common factors can reduce out. Okay? But be careful, don't try to reduce that x with that x, because this is not an x on bottom, it's an x plus 3 on bottom. The only thing x plus 3 will cancel out with would be an x plus 3 on top. We don't have x plus 3 on top, we just have an x. So we've correctly simplified this one by factoring out that 2 and simplifying it. Okay, last one, h divided by g. Okay, h divided by g. We have a fraction bar. The h goes on top, 2x plus 6. G goes on bottom, x plus 3. They already told us that the g function is not going to be 0, but what's going to make it be 0? Well, write that down. What's going to make the bottom be 0? And then solve it. -3, -3. If x is -3, then you get 0 on the bottom. So our domain would be the same thing. I would say our domain is x such that x does not equal -3. Okay, that's the simplest way to write that domain. Simplify it if we can. I believe we can simplify it, because if you take the top and you factor out a 2, you get an x plus 3 on bottom. You have an you get an x plus 3 on top. You have an x plus 3 on bottom. The x plus 3 on top will simplify with the x plus 3 on bottom, and then you end up with just a 2. Okay, so this is the division. It can be simplified. It may not be simplified a lot of times, but they gave us the couple examples that would simplify. If you are worried about the simplifying, don't. just